Asha Kambon, or should we say Dr. Asha Kambon of the Emancipation Support Committee, she joins us ahead of the launch of the Pan-African Festival commemorating emancipation. Welcome, Dr. Kambon. Thank you so much for making the time. We are having this conversation just before the opening of the festival. And what is the overarching theme this year?
This year, we are looking at creating opportunities to achieve our full potential. So the theme this year is really to encourage people to identify the opportunities that are available to them, and let's see how we can make that work for us to achieve our full potential. So it means that if there are young people in your community that you think that they haven't quite reached where they can go, and you see something that they can do, you can say to them, this is possible. Have you ever considered X or Y? Help someone achieve their full potential. And of course, we in the Emancipation Support Committee see it as our responsibility to do whatever it takes to assist people to have that possibility of fulfilling their full potential.
And looking at seeing where we can just, because Mommy said a word to the wise is sufficient, but looking and seeing where we can drop that word, plant that seed. I see that Youth Day, that the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Symposium has been placed within Youth Day. Is that what? Tell me a little bit about the event itself and the intentionality of scheduling on that day that you call Youth Day itself.
Okay. Well, actually, they're happening in two different spaces, and they usually do. Youth Day focuses on providing opportunities for young people, like in drama, dance, storytelling, song, learning how to drum, learning maybe how to walk on stilts, and so on. Quite a fun-filled day for young people, experiencing new possibilities, new opportunities in African culture and dance and so on. The Trade and Investment Symposium is quite a different kettle of fish, so to speak. And that is being held this year at the Hilton Ballroom. And normally, I mean, this is our 23rd Transatlantic Trade and Investment Symposium, and most of them have been held either at the Hilton Trinidad Conference Center. One year, which was last year, we held it at the VIP lounge of the Queen's Park Savannah, because we held what was considered a hybrid event where most of our participants were online. As people were just coming out of COVID, it was quite challenging for people to travel in for the symposia. But usually the Trade and Investment Symposium is held at the Hilton, or maybe I think on one occasion we were at the Hyatt. It is an opportunity for people who are interested in business, people who have their own businesses, or who have an interest in investing in either medium or small enterprises, or sometimes large enterprises, get a sense of how Africa fares. Is that an environment that you can invest your money in? Where on the continent can you invest your money? Remembering that we're talking about 54 states. And how have the changes been operationalized through, like, the free trade agreement now of African states and things like this? And how does that affect us? This year, of course, our focus for the Trade and Investment Symposium is Ghana, because we have that amazing visit by the Ashantahini. And it allows us to focus on trade and investment between Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana. It allows some of our young and budding entrepreneurs to understand what are the possibilities there and how should they prepare their business to be able to take hold of those opportunities. And actually the theme for the Trade and Investment Symposium sort of hinges on to the national theme. It says accelerating opportunities for achieving our full potential.
And if we had to have keywords for this conversation, one of them would have been potential and in terms of accessing those opportunities. And I really like the fact that you talk about what is possible, because sometimes people don't necessarily know that something is possible because they've never seen it done. It's outside their range of experience, therefore the lens of focus. And looking and seeing, okay, well, this is possible in this space that I've never looked at before. And even like you breaking down the fact that it's 54 states, so many jurisdictions within this continent of Africa, because sometimes people see it as a monolithic sort of a structure or concept. But being able to get that information, because sometimes people say, okay, well, it's so big, I don't know where to start. I want to go, but I'm not sure how to start. So in terms of making those incremental steps towards actualizing that dream that many people would have had. But that, like you said, there is this visit, the royal visit. And what are some of the things that you hope are achieved during the visit?
Okay, for instance, I think we're going to hear about what kinds of opportunities there will be and are in Ghana. And it's not just the opportunities for the large businesses. When we think, a lot of our emphasis in the past, I must say, focused on, say, for instance, the energy sector. A lot of our trade and investment symposia sought to encourage those persons who worked in the energy sector to see themselves as having the opportunity to work on the continent and give their services there and sell their services there and do very well. And in fact, many of our personnel, people in Trinidad and Tobago who had been working in the energy sector, many have taken up the opportunity to work on the continent. And it's very quietly done. So likewise, we have a lot of teachers that actually were teaching on the continent. They took 2-3 year contracts to work on the continent. They absolutely loved it. Some worked in Botswana, some worked in Ghana, and absolutely loved it. So you have different kind of opportunities exist. And again, it's for people to understand what can we do. One of the interesting things is that we've been looking at the whole question of logistics. We have had, when I say that, I mean Trinidad and Tobago entrepreneurs have been able to gain a lot of skills in the management and movement of things. Because remember, we're a small island state. What we produce, we've got to move it. We've got to know how to move it. And that sometimes just that knowledge of logistics, of the movement of things on the food chain, so to speak, and the management of that is a skill that can be what shall I say, marketed. So there's a lot of that. There's also, of course, in the cultural sector, we all know about the Afrobeat and the way in which it's just, topping the world, and the exchange between our Caribbean beats and their beats, and it's a huge market out there. And a lot of young people are indeed testing those markets and doing well. So, it's really a question, as I say, of letting people hear the opportunities that exist. And I think being done in an atmosphere where, how shall I say, a lot of the old stereotypes are removed and debunked, and our fears about, reaching Africa are debunked, and meeting people who are just like us. And that's the interesting thing as well. We understand that the delegation with the king will be very substantive, will be very large, and there will be people who are with him who are engaged in all levels of business. And therefore, it will be a great opportunity for young people to engage and they will be in the village. So people who don't come to the symposia, some will have you can have an opportunity to view it online. It will be hybrid. The entire symposium will be available online on the ESCTT webpage and on our YouTube channel and so on. And people will be able to just link in there and watch and listen and learn. And if you find it so exciting that you think, hey, I really got to try to meet and reach out to some people, well, you can come down to the village and find out how.
And we're going to be talking about a little more of the days as they will be unfolding in terms of getting that itemized schedule. But I'm really grateful that you talk about events. There's still being the opportunity for hybrid events, because last year when we spoke, it seems as though there was so much more reach individuals that you didn't think that would be viewing from this place and that disparate jurisdiction were doing so because of the digital nature of the exchange. But we continue the conversation with board member of the Emancipation Support Committee, Dr. Asha Kambon. When we return, stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with board member of the Emancipation Support Committee, Dr. Asha Kambon, about the Pan-African Festival TT commemorating emancipation, which is about to begin. And I see the greatest celebration of Africa outside of Africa. This is a point of pride, I think, for many. And what are some of those things that are held under the umbrella of the festival, Dr. Kambon?
Okay, but let me first tell you a little something about that statement.
Please.
We didn't take that upon ourselves. It's such an interesting statement. It was made by Professor Ali Mazrui, who is quite an outstanding and he made his transition a few years ago. Professor Mazrui was a historian and anthropologist, considered, world-renowned, and he visited Emancipation. And when he was here, he was absolutely enthralled by the celebration. This was many years ago. And he declared it then. He said this, and he, by the way, has produced television programs that take people through the entire continent of Africa, telling them the history and the connectedness between one country and another. And he made the point that this celebration was the greatest celebration of Africa outside of Africa. He was so impressed. So I like to say that so people understand that it's not just, it's not just us boasting. Although we'd love to be able to boast, but we prefer it when someone says a good thing about us that we have to say it ourselves.
Yeah, man, self-praise is no recommendation.
That's right, that's right. Okay, so we open on Friday, the 28th of July. And let me say something about our opening. We open in the morning. That's because all of our micro entrepreneurs and so on, they're all in place from the night before. And their stalls are beautifully and elegantly presented. And that's because, by the way, there's a lot of people who have been with us for quite some time. And many of them participate in the education programs that we host just for micro entrepreneurs every year, so that our micro entrepreneurs can make the most of the opportunity of all the people who come to the village to be able to sell their products and market their products so that they can sell them outside of the village. So we open at 10 in the morning. It's going to be a lovely morning. We expect to have quite a number of young people performing that morning in the opening. But we have a very special evening as well, because on the Friday the 28th, we have what is called Shikamu Relata. Shikamu is a Swahili word. It means I praise you, give praise to our elders. And this is the way in which the Emancipation Support Committee has used this opportunity in the past to praise a number of our elders in the art form. Last year, it was Shikamu David Rudder. And I feel good because it kicked off a lot of praises to David Rudder last year. And we were the first. So I like that. But before that, we had done Shikamu to Stalin. We had done Singing Sandra. We had praised our own Ella Andel. We had organized these various, as we call them, Shikamu to the particular artist. And we like to do it before, we like to do it while people are alive, because sometimes the praises that they receive after they've made their transition, it's good to give them that praise and honor while they are alive. So we like to do it that way. So that's going to be the evening of Friday, the evening. I'm just trying to get my schedule back in front of me so that I don't say the wrong things. Yes, there we go. And then on Saturday, it's rhythm and voices of the people. That's an opportunity for young people who are involved in culture and drumming and dancing. They perform all day during the village. It's just beautiful. But we have two significant events that evening. One, remembering Mark Nottingham. And that's a concert in remembrance of Mark. Mark was quite an activist with the organization as a cultural activist, and he made his transition last year, if people remember. So we will have a tribute to him on that Saturday afternoon, and then in the evening we have the Unity Reggae concert, and that's really going to be exciting and something to look forward to, featuring Marla and Asha. On Sunday the 30th, that's our food and family day. I mean, we encourage families to just turn down their pot, shut the door, and come down to the village and enjoy some of the wide variety of African foods that will be on sale and some on display. And you can always learn how to cook it. Talk 2 minutes to the to the sister who's selling, and she'll tell you exactly what to do. I usually head straight to the Ethiopian dishes. I absolutely love Ethiopian food, and so I head straight there with my family so that we can have a great Ethiopian lunch. But Sunday is a special day in the village because it is really like a pan day, because during the day we have the youth extravaganza, youth steel bands, and they'll be performing from 3 p.m. And then as the sun sets, we have jazz. And this year it's Kay Allen. And in the evening, Pan by moonlight. So it's really a really packed jam day of activities in the village. Plan to spend the day, as I said, turn your pot down and come out. And then on the 31st of July, that's the day that young people sort of take over the village. There'll be lots of young people, lots of activities, storytelling, stilt walking, drumming, dancing, everything to learn, painting to do. And of course, while they're doing that, our entrepreneurs, our business people are going to be at the Hilton talking about trade and opportunities for trade and investment between Ghana and Trinidad and Tobago. In the night, there's the Pan African concert. Very exciting this year because we've had the offer by the Colombian embassy, and they're bringing in a wonderful, wonderful, people will find him beautiful singer and guitarist, well renowned across the world. And we will have a really exciting Pan African night. Look out for it. Come. August 1st, of course, is just what can we say about August 1st? We start very early, remembering our ancestors at All Stars Panyard, 4 a.m. for the early birds. Then Freedom Morning come at 6 a.m. Freedom Morning Come is a reenactment of the moment when Africans received news that the Emancipation Proclamation was going to be read. And by the way, it's a very, very interesting point for people to remember that in Trinidad and Tobago, the Emancipation Proclamation was read at the site of the Treasury building. We now have a monument at that site called Arise, produced by none other than Gillian Bishop. And so on Emancipation Morning, we'll be right next to that amazing monument. And if you haven't gone and had a good look at it, please do so and join us on Emancipation Morning. It's going to be a wonderful morning. We call it Yedase, which is, in a sense, a tribute to our ancestors. And there in front of the Treasury building, we expect to have the Asantehene with us. Our Prime Minister will be with us. There will be many members of the diplomatic corps and so on. But most importantly, the people of Trinidad and Tobago will be with us. People come out in their thousands with their families and their children to just enjoy that Kambule, that walk from the Treasury building to the Lijasu Omawali village with the marvelous dancing and drumming all the way along the way. And of course, when the night comes, we have the Kambule, the flambeau procession from the village down to All Stars Panyard on Duke Street. So the entire period is really a period of education and entertainment. It's for us a moment of reflection on the achievement of ending chattel slavery. You know, sometimes we in Trinidad and Tobago take these things for granted. The end of chattel slavery actually began, it marked the period for human rights, not just in the Caribbean, but globally, because no longer could anybody be enslaved. That's why we could talk now about ending modern day slavery, because we ended actual chattel slavery. Because in those days, remember, slavery was legal. It was legal to own someone and sell them like a car, like a used car or an animal. And we ended that. And that's an amazing thing. It meant that in the Caribbean, no other group of people could be brought into the Caribbean after the end of slavery as slaves.
And
They
one of
could
the
be
things I really
enticed.
appreciate about
Yeah.
these sorts of traditions, there's so much room. Many times there'd be binary. It's either this or this. It's either this or this, as opposed to be able to have a plethora of things happening at the same time. This nexus. So there is celebration, there is education, there is protest, and all of that is taking place at the same time. And I really want to thank you for helping to lend some insight to what is going to happen, what people can expect, and reminding everyone that you can also visit www.emancipationtt.com for more information, or if you found that the dates ran a little too fast, you get it there. But Dr. Asha Kambon, we want to thank you very much for the time, and on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.